Hope you enjoyed. Okay, looks like we're at 25Q again. Okay, so I recommend. Wait, this isn't the same player, right? Different one. Okay. I recommend going one further down. My reasoning is the third and fourth line from the closest edges are usually where you want to be in the opening. Oh, gotcha. Um, so this one is 1, 2, 3, which is fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I like this though. You're building a nice size corner. Okay, top side. Nope. Definitely want to get to the top side. We do not want to tunnel vision on the bottom. We need to spread out. Okay, good defense. The corner enclosure here is good, but the top side is bigger for now. I think I would recommend going here. And the shape that you're aiming for is this. This is kind of like a textbook framework shape. Very strong, very solid, very powerful. This move is fine, but it's good to learn our textbook shapes first, and then we can learn about the exceptions. Um, I usually recommend corner enclosures and then building up position. This is too many stones on one side of the board. Approach. Let's see there. Let's do our invasion spots. We have the 3/3s, so here and here. And we have approach a fourth line stone. We have that one, that one, that one, and that one. Cannot go to this one because there's an enemy right there, so we can't go to that one. So these are the Lossy approach invasion points. I recommend corner enclosures with one space away for now. 2 space away, 2 spaces like Knight's moves have cutting points. So this can get you in trouble sometimes in the future. Not a bad move, but 1 space jump is a lot easier to handle. And here, we want to watch our cutting points. You want to descend. And then black wants to fix their cutting point. It's good habits, but you can technically block as well if you know that this is a ladder. Depends on how many go problems you are doing. Unfortunately, this does come with its own issue. So defense is the answer. And then we can block. Defense, block. So here, white can actually counterattack by going here. And now this stone here is actually trapped in its own ladder. And it goes to white stones. This is good, right? Unfortunately, second line cutting once again. Try not to touch. You want to approach stones, not touch stones. Touching leads to complicated fights with lots of cutting points. So if you're losing or you're desperately invading, then touching can be fine. But typically, I want to see approaching stones or approaching stones, simply because you need to learn those first before you start learning touch moves. Okay, starting a fight with the cutting point is okay. It is very complicated, but it's not a bad idea. Just make sure that you defend the cutting stone. Um, Technically, the answer is to save the weakest side, and the weakest side can change. You have a cutting point black. Okay, very nice. Okay. Careful. I think the simplest idea would be to use this like this. And then trap it against the edge. Trap it against the edge. And then black dice. I don't expect you to read all that, but it can come about naturally if you're just trying to surround things and trap it against the edge. I think you're just like, hey, go to the edge, go to the edge, go to the edge, go to the edge. And you can actually get it naturally. I do like your cutting points. You're cutting. Make sure you're watching your cutting stones, because once you cut, the cutting stones do become a weak group. Okay. Black is saving it. Uh-oh. Now we've taken a step too far. Because now we have our own cutting point. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4 problems. Also, black can now capture the cutting stones in a ladder. I think black might not know their ladders very. By that I mean you missed the ladder here and you missed the ladder here. So either don't know ladders or not spotting them. Both of which can be solved by
Spotting them.
spotting them. A good rule of thumb is to always try to be aware when something gets down to 2 liberties. Honestly, ideally, you want to be aware whenever something's 3 or less. 3 liberties or less are typically where you find tactics or Tsujis. So you can do the double Hane Tsuji because the 2 stones on 2 stones, once you play the Hane, it's down to 3 liberties, you can play the Tsuji. But all of the Tsujis are tactics. Usually there's 3 liberties or less or something. Like a ladder is 2 liberties. Squeeze or nose or something like that is usually because of 3 liberties. So keeping track of when something only has 3 is very, very helpful when you're looking for tactics in a position of like this, where it's a big fight. So in this case, the tactic here was white only had 2, which can lead to a ladder sometimes. Black has 3, which, if we recall earlier, back right here, black had 3, and you saw that white could actually play a squeeze right here, which trapped black. So 3 or less. That's where the tactics are. If you're saying something, I cannot hear you. So here we want to be careful because we are trying to surround white, but we're doing so with a pre-peeped. Good. Connect our stuff. Okay. So this one would be a ladder. Oh no. This one is missing capture. So this would be capture go problem homework. Not miss the captures. So the most important thing in touching fights is going to be the cutting points. The second most important thing, which is related to the first thing, is the cutting stones. The stones that are disconnecting things are very, very important to keep alive, which also means they're very powerful to capture. So if we capture the things that are disconnecting everything, all of our stuff now works together and connects. So all of a sudden, the entire fight goes in black's favor. Whereas before, everything was getting cut, everything was complicated, everyone has weak groups. So in my mind, what I usually think at this level is touching fights for 25 Qs or double digit Qs can be like flipping a coin on if something of who's going to die. Because neither player really understands the cutting points well enough, and both players usually give opportunities for the opponent to kill them. And it just depends on who spots it first. So it takes a certain type of player to, which is like an aggressive type, a reading heavy type, lots of go problems type, to go down the touching fights confidently. And the places that you are going to be looking for are the cutting points, the cutting stones that have 3 liberties or less, and any sort of tactics like ladders, nets. Both of these capture cutting stones. Not missing captures, second line cutting points in general. Don't play pre-peeped one space jumps. All of that stuff comes together in a touching fight, in a touching battle. So the big key here was losing these. Okay, whenever we find ourselves in a bad situation, let's just start fixing stuff. Fix a cut here, try to connect your stuff here, try to connect your stuff down here, or maybe work on trying to get to our friends. But just start fixing stuff. If you're ever down, fix stuff and then go play a big move. If you try to fight your way back immediately, it usually just makes the mistake worse. This is a little bit of a chicken move. Fix your stuff. Fix your stuff. You're not about to be captured right here, so I'm not sure what you're doing. This friend, ally, has now been disconnected. Careful, there's 2 cutting points with this. White is very good at seeing the opponent's cuts. They just gotta save their cutting stones. Okay, so white has successfully cut off these 3. Very powerful attack. But the key here is making sure that these stay alive and these stay alive. Because these are the stones that are cutting off black from his allies. Very nice. We're saving the stones that are attacking. Black is trying to escape out. And here's the classic mistake we are seeing. You're playing another cutting point on top of a cutting point in the middle of the touching fight. Simply stay strong and connected while surrounding your opponent. That is how you can make these cutting points very powerful. Don't try to start another cutting fight in the middle of a cutting fight. That just keeps giving you more cutting points. Black, this doesn't quite work, but I like that you're trying. Try it in your head. Okay, so this is good for getting these 2 stones. So only if you've sacrificed these in your mind. Maybe you think they're already dead. They are technically dead, but do we know that at this level? Because there's stuff to try. I don't know. Depends on what you're thinking. What if we go down? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops. What if we do this? 1, 2, 3. But there is a squeeze, but even that doesn't work. Oh, so this is the key to kill white. Once again, we're looking for 1, 2 liberties. 1, 2, 3 liberties. Okay. And what we're doing is we're descending to squeeze these 2 white stones out of their liberties. We're squeezing the liberties out of them. If you ever play squeeze go problems, it's usually trying to bully the empty triangles. Usually what it is. Here, this isn't necessarily a bad move if you've written these black stones off for dead, because you can squeeze these stones to gain strength and come back and save. Ideally like this, or like, and by saving these 2, they're saving the cutting stones that are cutting off these 2.
Osprey_420 just followed.
So this is a 3-peeped 1-space jump. The shape that can get you in a lot of trouble. It has cutting points. Also, you are abandoning your friends right here. Technically, it's not good to save these, but I usually tell my students to build habits of saving their stuff, and then we can work on which ones not to save later. But right now, I think it's important for you to learn how to save. You have 2 right here that are in danger, and 2 right here that are in danger. And this is not alive yet. This one needs 2 eyes. Black will see. Yeah, I think probably the lesson here is even if it's dead, like it's not dead, but maybe in your mind you thought it was. Even dead things contribute to Aji or potential weakness. The potential for a tactic comes from cutting points and Aji. Aji being potential. So whenever you're trying to check for tactics, look for the cuts and look for your dead stones. The dead stones are usually contributing to taking the liberties of stuff. So the dead stones can sometimes contribute, not always, but sometimes contribute to an attack or a kill. Even though they're dead, by existing on the board, they can sometimes still contribute. Here is another ladder. Again, the hint is 2 liberties. This still kills it, but habits are important. Checking your opponent's cut. This one is not good, though, because it is a ladder. 2 liberties, check the ladder. Yeah, I think just drill, like, for black, I think just drill, like, 50 ladder problems a day for, like, a week. And then, I think that just that looks like that shape is a blind spot. For whites, you were really good at seeing your opponent's cutting points, but only cut the ones that don't get trapped by a net or ladder. Only cut from strength, not from weakness. Ooh, nice find. Very nice find. Oh no. Yeah, we don't know how to fight Koz at this. Just connect, and if black blocks, you kill it with second line cut. The black has to run. Black has to run. And you see how you're cutting these 2 stones off? You have just really damaged those 2 stones, and black has to save. And now you can come back. Counterattack these 2 and these 2 because you have disconnected them. Meanwhile, white is connected really solidly right here. A powerful attack. This captures if you win the ko, but winning the ko is very difficult. Understanding kos are very difficult. Oh wow, this would be amazing if you. Oh wow, if you read that in advance, I would be super impressed. Just getting the Haji off the board. I don't hate it. It's technically a chicken move. Okay. Ending. I think learn how to invade. You're a big touch fighter, so as long as you're doing go problems every day, these invasions usually lead to touching fights. And if you're really good at touching fights because you're seeing your opponent's cutting points, you're doing go problems every day, then invasions will actually set up a type of game that you're good at. So I think learn how to invade and get more of these sort of touching fights going. Be wary of your cutting points. Interesting. I actually expected you to go for it because you typically go for your opponent's cutting points every single time. This is probably better simply because you're right next to a giant black wall. So if black saves the one closer to the edge, it should be perfectly fine. However, it's very easy for your opponent to make a mistake, so maybe he's still cutting it as fine. But we have our own cutting point that we gotta worry about. Make sure you know that you can capture the cutting stone against the edge with this sequence. This is a third line cutting point sequence. So we in second line cutting points we learn from 9x9. Third line cutting points we learn from 13x13 and practice. Good, fix the cutting point. Doing as best you can. This is too soon. We still have a large chunk of the board left to play. So don't play on the first line so soon. It's weird that you're not following up your move. Maybe you realized? Sure. But just don't do it. But typically, following through your plans is a good habit. Okay. Remember, 2 space jumps have a cutting point. So the safer one would be a diagonal. This is because your 1 point jump is already touching something. Quite dangerous. Okay, so black's not cuttable, so black can try to invade somewhere. 3-3, approach a fourth line, approach a fourth line, approach a fourth line, 3-3. Any of those. But what black is worried about, I believe, is this cutting point. Now, this one is fine if you know about the net. Now, nets are pretty common next to strength. You have a solid wall like this. Check the nets and ladders. They're usually going to be in your favor. Then you don't have to fix. If you don't have to fix, then you get more moves. So usually what I tell my students is if you do go problems, you get more moves and go. Because if you can read your cutting points more accurately, if you know it's cuttable or not cuttable, then you don't have to waste moves fixing the ones that are not cuttable because you know your nets and ladders. So just by being good at reading nets and ladders, you get more moves in the game. Being good at life and death gets you more moves in the game. Also can win you the game because it's still here. I don't know what we're doing here. Uh-oh. So this is once again White's strength and weakness. Spotting a cut, but not checking their own problems. So we saw that we could disconnect, but we didn't see that it's a Salvatari. So seeing your weakness is just as important as seeing as your opponent. Here you are playing a Hane, which has a cutting point. Stones that are floating inside of a large black framework. Very dangerous. So when you're in a situation like this is kind of an advanced strategy, but we want to use the weak stone as Aji. So we want to use the forcing moves that we get from that stone to save ourselves. So it's actually still focusing on just our one group, the A group. The B stone, we are not considering a group. We are considering it Aji or potential weakness. And we're going to use the B stone to bully C and D in order to gain shape for our A group because we're playing defense right now. We're trying to survive. So we use the Aji in the area to try to survive. Black, I'm not sure. Oh, you're super worried about this. Got it. Um, didn't read quite far enough. Again, this is saving the stones that are disconnecting things. Saving the cutting stones are very, very important. Good. See the second line cut. This is too early, but no, no. Now you're playing chicken moves left and right. Don't let the chicken take over. Chickens can't drive cars. Okay. So you've heard many jokes about this, but chickens don't do well on roads. So this is a tiger's mouth, so it's not cuttable. Don't let the chicken take over. It's not cuttable. Don't play it. So here, this is keeping this entire group cut off. This is a knight's move. Knight's moves have cutting points. We do not want to get cover here because this is a big black area. Also, you are leaving a weak group behind. So save your weak group first. Save your weak stone. Fix your cutting points. Defense, defense, defense. Here's another good rule of thumb. This doesn't work on this board, but you struggle to see ladders. So black, when you jump through a knight's move, this leads to a ladder. So make sure you check that the ladder doesn't work. So when you jump through the knight's move, check the ladder. That's a common spot for a ladder. Now, this is not a ladder, unfortunately, because it puts white into Atari. So white cannot ladder you. So it's a good cut. Definitely want to cut. learn more about shapes. Points, cutting points. All right, so now black is utilizing a cutting point. So this is really good because black controls this area, so we attack the cutting point. Very good. What I want to see from here... Oh, I'm way over time on this one. What I want to see for here is black is going to keep this cutting stone strong in order to attack the things that it's cutting off. So I went way over on this one, so hopefully you both found this one helpful.